And this is Scaling Clean, the podcast for clean economy CEOs, investors, and the people who advise them. I'm your host, Melissa Baldwin. Each show, we bring you usable insights from tested leaders that you can apply to the business of running your business. Welcome to the Scaling Clean podcast. This episode was recorded live at RE Plus in Las Vegas. My guest today is Akshay Sagar, CEO of NovaSource Power, the world's largest solar O&M provider. If you've driven past a solar farm anywhere, it's very likely that NovaSource had a hand in keeping it running. Akshay built his career in oil and gas, managing turnarounds and integrations with big energy players like Schlumberger, Halliburton, and Patterson-UTI. Now he's bringing that global energy expertise into clean tech, guiding NovaSource as it manages more than 30 gigawatts of solar and storage projects worldwide. Akshay, welcome to Scaling Clean. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Melissa. It's a pleasure.
So let's dive into our questions. We always like to start by hearing about your background. Clearly, you're the CEO of NovaSource today, but how did you get there? What was the path that you took that landed you in this position that you're in today? And also, why did you switch from traditional fuels to renewables?
I graduated as an engineer in India, and my first job was with Schlumberger. I did not know much about it. And today, looking back, I would do nothing different. Schlumberger took me from my university days and put me on the field. I started my career as a field engineer, right in the mud with everyone, hands-on, in Africa. It was in Angola, in the middle of a civil war. And at that time, running a business, great service being delivered to customers, and being safe was an interesting combination for a college graduate just out of college. And from there, I continued my journey through different management roles, different geographies, learning a lot about different businesses. And then at some point, I switched to other service companies just for the exposure and the variety. And at the very end, we went through a merger at Patterson-UTI. And as a result of that, I started looking at the expansion of the energy portfolio, and renewables made a lot of sense. I'd been looking at the renewables space for a long time, and it was something which excited me because this is a sector which has amazing tailwinds, a very strong thesis of growth, but also needs the discipline and industrialized approach of a process-driven industry. And I think we could merge our learnings from traditional energy into what was and is and will continue to remain an amazing growth engine for the overall energy equation for the US and the world.
Interesting. You said a few things there that I want to just dive deeper on. You talked about discipline and industrialized approach. What does that mean to you? Like, could you compare the way things were in oil and gas and traditional fuels versus what you were seeing in renewables?
In the case of traditional energy, I think over 100 years or 100 plus years, making lots of mistakes, the industry had learned how not to take anything for granted. Safety was very important, making sure time was valued very efficiently and jobs were done correctly every time. Coming into this part of the industry, I realized we had a lot of great technology coming in. There was a lot of need for energy, and energy which was clean was absolutely a must for us from a planet sustainability standpoint, and just added to the energy equation. But where we failed was ensuring that the urgency to do jobs right every time and making sure that when things did not work, they were addressed immediately, and having a very rigorous process that was across the board the same. I call it kind of the McDonald's approach. You need to have the same taste every time, and hence you bring in customers and bring in satisfaction. That did not exist. And we knew how to do that. We had done that for a living. And I think merging the two has helped us tremendously at NovaSource over the last 18 months that I've been here.
Excellent. And when you were looking back, you mentioned that that merger that you had went through, I believe, was at Patterson. Approximately what year was that?
That was 2023. So
Okay,
it
it was
happened in
recently.
June. Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, I exited Patterson at the start of 2024.
Okay. So now I'm going to move on to the next question, and that is, we always ask people about their mentors. Who's influenced you in your life? So as you look back over your career, is there anybody that stands out to you as a mentor, and what did they teach you?
I'm going to go for the obvious. It's one of the most significant ones has been my dad. He's also been an energy executive, but prior to that, he worked for Ford Motors and BASF, so companies which were not in energy. But I think what I was impressed the most about him was his drive to come from nothing to something and building up a very strong career. He was the first person who left India and came to Berkeley and studied there and built an amazing career. And the DNA of not giving up and making sure excellence is a way of life is what I learned from him. In my work career, I've had a few different people who've helped me. Even the people at Patterson, their CEO was a mentor at one point. You know, he helped me through many things, and there've been a few others. So it's tough to make a list, but I think I like to learn from anyone and everyone who can give me a new idea to take home. And I think that's my concept of mentorship. It's not a one person thing; it's a new idea thing.
I like that. Not a one person thing, a new idea thing. And I've got to tell you, I feel like at least half of all of the CEOs I've interviewed have credited their parents as their mentors. So it's a really common thread. And I think that's really, really cool. Imagine that you step into a time machine right now and you go back to the beginning of your career. What advice would you give to your younger self?
As I said, I wouldn't do a lot of things different in terms of a career trajectory, but I would definitely try to avoid the mistakes I made, which was at a couple of different times, I thought I knew better than the people who were guiding me and refused certain opportunities, which at the time felt like that wasn't pretty enough, that wasn't exciting enough. In hindsight, I should have taken them. When people in your career are thoughtfully helping you, the opportunities they offer are also thoughtfully done. And we as individuals should embrace that if you believe it's done for the right reasons. I refuse some, and I think I would take them this time around.
That's interesting. You've lived in 8 different countries. What do you notice? Do you have a favorite?
I'll tell you what my wife's favorite is. That was Paris in France. She likes that place a lot. But no, I think
I don't blame her. I think that'd be my favorite too, Paris, France.
she did enjoy that a lot. I've lived and worked on almost every continent. I'd say there are a few things which stand out to me, which I think the combination of 8 make as kind of a portfolio. One is human ingenuity. You know, we have found people in almost every place are driven by an ambition to do right things, for the most part. Cultural diversity and acceptance of diversity and new ideas, that was something which came into our DNA as a family. My kids have lived in multiple countries. They embrace diversity, not for the sake of diversity, but for the sake of value, of idea, thought, and just doing things differently could be very helpful. So that has been very, very much, the way of life for us, and we like that a lot. And some very creative ways of solving problems that I learned along the way. And getting thrown in the middle of a desert or in the middle of a jungle and survival, that's the last piece I would say. We often complain too much about things that really are not significant in our overall scheme of things, but making things work in very difficult conditions, like working through a war, living with some very unsafe situations, getting stranded in places where they don't speak the language, that teaches you how we have a human spirit that is amazing. We should harness that and bring that to our work culture as well, and our life and our families.
Is there any place that you've been that just has stuck with you visually, like the geography of a place that just was very striking to you?
And we like Scotland a lot.
Mm,
Our daughter was born in Scotland, and it's just a pretty place. I
yeah.
mean, I think it's calm, it's pretty, amazing, nice people.
Nice. That sounds amazing. So now we're going to move on to the section on leadership and change management. Imagine that you quit your job tomorrow and you become a lecturer at a business school. Your first lecture describes what is the role of an effective CEO. What do you say to your students?
Over the last multiple years, going through different leadership roles in companies and M&A activity, etc., I came to a very simplistic view in my mind. Not being the smartest guy in the room, I said, organizations are just made up of 2 things: people and steel. Steel I can buy, I can build, I can mold. I really have to focus on the people. So I think the first thing I have learned is get talent around you that is amazing, that is more talented than you are. Never be intimidated by great people around you. Their ideas, the disruptive practices, them questioning you is probably your strength. And building people, training them, investing in them. People invested in me. Someone took a chance on me. I'm a brown guy from India. I'm sitting here running a company. not because of how I look, but probably because of what I do. And I only reached here because many people bet themselves on my success and help me. So find people you can bet on, make sure they're successful, but always get the best talent. I always say get people who are more talented than you because they'll make you much better. And don't worry about the steal. You can always get it.
It's great. Oh, I'm interested in this one. I noticed when I was reading about you, you mentioned that you've managed corporate turnarounds. So, and look, right now the solar industry is getting a shakeup, right? So, can you give an example of a situation like that you've faced in a turnaround?
Sure. I mean, this is my third significant turnaround. First time was quite a while ago, and it was my first exposure to businesses that lose money. That was new to me, and that was a bit of a shock, but it was a learning. I think for us, the recipe has become more standard. It's first getting the right management team in place who believe in the same vision, in values and culture. So values and culture are very important. It's not just said for the sake of saying it that culture is much more important than strategy, and I believe it. So setting the right culture and the right values is important. Secondly, finding a structure that makes sense for that business in that market is very important. Not all structures are the same. Copying something doesn't help. Being creative helps. So finding what works, looking at problems and trying to solve them in real time is a lot more powerful than trying to read books on how something works somewhere else, because you're not in the same moment of time. We can certainly learn, but we have to adapt. And finally, making sure it is immense accountability across the organization. And this is extreme for me. It starts with me. And I set out 5 objectives for the organization, or 5 values that I hold very strong. That is ownership. I own it. I don't point fingers. Discipline. It has to be a process based, disciplined approach in a company. Accountability. We are all accountable at all levels. Urgency. Get things done now. Let's not have a meeting for the sake of another meeting. And finally, austerity. We are, in any business in any part of the world, much better off being austere and then spending the money on the right things rather than spending them for fun and then struggling to turn around. So those things have driven me. It was the same in oil and gas, it's about the same here. And again, the industry may go through inflections, but they're just moments of reset. Nothing changes. Industries last a long time. Resets allow us to be a lot more efficient. And that's what's going to happen in this industry now. We are going through a moment in time that oil and gas has gone through many times. It's called a downturn. It's just a moment of reset where high caliber, highly efficient, great companies succeed, and the others may have to find other things to do.
Yeah, I'm noticing that, and we're seeing that in the industry where I think some of the more robust companies, they have their plan, they're going to see this through. I think some of maybe the younger companies or those with less experience, it's going to be tough. But with that, I think I think it's going to be good for the industry overall.
Absolutely.
It's going to strengthen
It's
us.
going to be a stronger industry.
Yeah. And actually that leads right into my next question. So you have M&A experience, and there's a lot of talk right now in the solar industry that there's going to be a lot of M&A activity. So can you give advice to any companies who may be looking to acquire other companies or looking to be acquired about how to approach those deals?
So M&A is a complex business. Most M&As don't succeed.
Mhm.
And the reason is rather simple. The thesis and the strategy behind it is flawed. People do it because it looks nice and do it just for the math. M&A's, M&A activity does not work just on a spreadsheet. I think getting the right reasons to make it happen in terms of where does it strategically fit in the roadmap of the companies coming together, making sure cultures are aligned, making sure that the people who are part of both companies stay with the companies for success, and that the products and services have complements to each other, not competitive with each other. You do not want to buy a company and gobble up part of it and then destroy it. That just destroys value. But the culture piece is important. People need to be, if there's one company which likes to micromanage everything and the other one is like a free for all, you put them together, it's not going to work. That's a very simplistic example. So I think it's very important that finding those right drivers are set up first and not rushing into the first target you find. Sometimes it's just like a dating game. You don't necessarily marry the first person. You may, but usually like to date and know and explore and be thoughtful.
Yeah, that's great advice. I absolutely see what you're saying about the culture too, because I think people get used to working in a certain way. So I can imagine a large degree of friction if you're coming into a completely different environment.
Yeah, I mean, you got to think about it, right? A company going through M&A is very disruptive at the level of an individual employee. Uh, the CEOs and the board, they see it, but the individual employees, they need to think: do they have a job? Who their boss is going to be? What direction are they going to take? That's a lot to process, and with very little information. Communication is another very important part of any good M&A. Letting everyone know where we are today and where we're heading to tomorrow, and along the way, lots of updates.
Right. And what does this mean for you?
Right.
Right. How is this going to affect your day to day? How is it going to affect your job?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great point. In business, a lot of times, especially the CEO, you are the one who has to make the tough call and have the tough decision. So that might be firing somebody, that might be, maybe there's a tough financial situation you're going through, or admitting and correcting a mistake, like you talked about earlier. So, what is your approach to that when you have to have a tough conversation? What is your approach?
I'd say, and yes, you're right, I've had to do that many times. It's not always fun, and I don't take it lightly. So, step one is don't take any decision lightly. It's not done just for the sake of doing it, it's done thoughtfully. But be very direct and be quick about it. I think extending the pain of any such difficult decision makes it 10 times more painful. So, if it's an employee, just come out, be direct, explain why you're doing what you're doing. And we, fortunately, have had people who've understood that better when we are direct. And unfortunately, we've had to do that many times, even here at NovaSource, and in significant amounts at different times. The same applies with a customer. I think there is no substitute for the truth. If we have a mistake that our team has made, I'd rather we tell them, we talk through that, and customers appreciate it. Everyone makes a mistake. We're human at the end of the day. If I was a robot, I probably wouldn't be going through this podcast. You'd be having it done very differently. So we make mistakes. That's what makes us great, when we accept them and improve from them. And customers, they're like me on the other side, right? They'll work with me. If I try to give them nice fluffy stories, then that doesn't go very far.
Yeah. And I think a lot of times they can see right through it.
Hmm.
We ask this question to every guest. So, in business, do you find that success relies more on what you choose to do or not to do?
It's more of what I choose not to do. Because choosing to do is something I do every day. Choose a lot of things. And I think we get greedy at times, trying to do too much, or trying to do a diversity of things. We think we can handle it all, but we don't do it very well. Staying very focused, I think, has much more upside. I'll give an example here with NovaSource. A lot of people have asked us, we should consider moving into the wind support business as an energy source, or adding some other pieces. And I've always said no. We are a utility scale provider of services to the solar industry and the battery energy storage industry, and that's what we will be. We'll get deep in it. We'll add a lot of depth in value, in terms of predictability, in terms of analytics, but we don't want to diversify. And that was a choice of not doing something. It was easy for us to say, listen, let's just do something else. We'll look bigger, we'll grow more, we'll be more, we can talk a lot more about something in the short term. So I believe it's more about picking the few key things that would be distractions and not doing them.
Excellent. So, let me ask you this. You're the CEO. This is a large company. So, are you still involved in the hiring process?
I certainly like to visit with people who are coming at least 2 levels below where I sit,
Hmm.
and 3 in some cases. I want to at least meet them once. And I think the only reason I meet them is, that's the 3 reasons I meet them. One, I want to tell them what I think about NovaSource and where I think the company feels like it's going. And they appreciate hearing it from multiple people, including myself.
Yeah.
And second, I want to assess culture. Will this human be able to work with me at some point in the future? Because everyone we hire a few levels below us should aspire to do my job. I don't hire people to just do their jobs. I want to hire leaders who will take over my role and my ELT members' roles in the future. We want to groom leaders for success, not for today, but for tomorrow. And the third reason is I want to make sure that they very honestly can ask questions, and I tell them up front, the buck stops with me. So don't think that I'm going to tell you I've got to check. Because if I've got to check, we have a problem.
Mhm.
I mean, data aside, but if you want to hear about direction, strategy, key decisions, if I can't tell you, you should not be joining this company. And I think that's very important for us that we have that open dialogue and trust on day zero, else it's not going to be a great combination.
Yeah. Is there a time in your career where you've done the interview yourself directly?
hmm I've interviewed people who work on my team, obviously,
Okay.
often. I mean, always. And I do interview other people too, on and off. My style's a little bit more direct than maybe HR. They're more thoughtful and pleasant. I think I just get to the point quick.
Yeah.
I've always believed that time is well spent when we focus on what is important
Mm.
and cut the fluff out.
Yeah.
Just as the way I run our business and our team, we run very hard. We run at a very high velocity as a team, and we like it. Some people may not like it, but those who like it, they stay with us. Most of my team has worked with me before, more than once in some cases,
Mm.
and they came back by choice. They elected to come here. We just like the way we ride together.
That's interesting though, because that means that more folks have come over from traditional fuels into renewables. Is that right?
Absolutely, absolutely. And I go back in our customer mix as well, and there are a lot of people. Almost everyone I have met, or 90% of the people, started somewhere else.
Mm.
Traditional energy, industrial businesses, upstream, downstream, chemicals, whatnot, manufacturing, and then at some point saw the value of growing an alternate energy source. As humanity needs so much energy, which is multiplying very fast, they came over here. They added their expertise to a very strong growth, and they've enjoyed it. They haven't left. I don't intend to leave either.
Good. We like you here. This is great. All right. So now I'm going to move into another section. I want to talk about marketing and AI. First, what is your company's approach to AI? Are you using it either in your company and the services that you provide to your customers as an offering, or are you using it internally to help your own internal processes?
It's a timely question you've asked. On Monday this week, we announced the launch of NovaVision, which
Okay.
is our AI-enabled portfolio of offerings to assist the industry in terms of how do they analyze information, make predictive choices, predictive optimization. We have set ourselves a three-pronged strategy: predictive failure, predictive optimization, and inspection efficiency. Those are things that drive asset performance. Because as a company, we have moved beyond operations and maintenance to total asset optimization as an approach. So our AI focus is huge across the company. From an external product standpoint, the number one focus is to predict failure of large components that impact energy generation, which in this case is mostly inverters.
Mm-hmm.
We have also taken a very thoughtful approach that every function in the company, 100% of every function, will use AI engines to automate 1 to 3 processes. I expect a 30% efficiency uptick in the organization across every function. So AI is more than on the cards, it's totally in our DNA, both internally and externally. And I think done for the right reasons, with the right framework, it can be hugely successful. But AI, for the sake of AI, to have it on my brochure is zero value. So the tools we have now introduced this week under NovaVision, they truly bring value to the industry, and I think that will help a lot.
I want to talk more about that. I want to actually give you a chance for our listeners who might not, probably everyone is familiar with NovaSource, but let's imagine there's a listener out there that's not. Just say again, like who you are, how big the company is, what you're doing, your customer types.
Sure. So NovaSource is a services platform focused entirely on utility scale solar and battery storage systems. And about 18 months ago, we reset our trajectory from operations and maintenance to total asset optimization. We continue to have operations and maintenance as the mainstay of the company. And those are two verticals, operations and maintenance. And we added three more verticals. One was intelligence, which was a function of putting subject matter experts on asset optimization. We created a digital vertical, and hence the launch of our NovaVision platform, which is our AI-enabled suite. And then we created a standalone back office services function primarily focused on supply chain, which has been a weakness in the industry. So that allows us to then take a whole asset optimization approach, and we also reset the organization in terms of what is important to us. And in the past, we always talked about what we would do and what was outside scope and effective availability and stuff like that, which contracts asked for. And we kind of dropped that entire idea in terms of at least the way we operate and made it actual energy generation. That's what the industry wants. That's what a customer wants. That's what a PPA requires. So we measure ourselves on actual energy generation. And most recently, based on third party data, we have now come to compute and conclude that sites operated by NovaSource are producing 25% more energy than any of our peers. And that is public data. It's not NovaSource data, it's like the industry data. So our approach on asset optimization and actual energy generation aligned with customers using our predictive tools and field execution is definitely showing us additional energy. And that's what the industry wants. And we will continue our path on that. And there's much more to come. We have to all get our assets to operate at 100%.
I was just thinking about this and talking about this with some folks here at the show. Right now, the spotlight is on us, right?
Mm-hmm.
We have a lot of criticism, from government essentially, and so right now it's more important than ever for our assets to be operating, for the projects to work and to perform and to deliver as promised.
100%.
And so you guys know, like, machines break, right? And so I think it's excellent, this new line that you've developed.
And I think if you think about the government, and not to get political out here, but with the new policy frameworks, an existing site is already connected to the grid. There's the PPA in place. There's absolutely no downside in producing more energy from the site. It's needed by the industry. It's needed by humanity. Forget about the industry. Humanity needs energy. Why would we not produce as much as we can? We are only helping all of us collectively. It doesn't matter what side of the political aisle you're sitting on, we all need the light bulbs to be running well. So our approach is get every site to produce 100%, and if they're built for more than 100%, like some sites, make it more than 100%. How can we get that final step? So we are today producing actual energy at 95 to 96% of the plant capacity. And that is a very high number compared to anyone in our peer group. And we kind of openly will discuss that with anyone on, how can we improve. And certainly, if you, like us as NovaSource and our team feel very good about it.
It's excellent. Yeah, I've heard numbers as low as 60, 75% of, underperformance.
Correct.
So, up to a third of the asset is not delivering. So that's incredible. 95 to 96 is great.
That's why, the 25% above industry peer group energy production is real for us. It's not a joke. The data is, again, not our data. The data was taken from meter data that is published by the utilities. So it's not Akshay didn't create it or NovaSource did not. Anyone can go and do the same math.
Publicly available.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and actually, your point about data and your data leads me into the next question about marketing. Because a lot of times in marketing, we can use our internal data assets to tell the customer something interesting about themselves that they don't already know. But I want to just ask you about your approach to marketing. So tell me about the size of your marketing team and what marketing tactics have you found to be successful here at NovaSource, but also maybe there's something that you saw in oil and gas that you think renewables could learn from.
So number one thing so we have a decent sized marketing team. We have a chief commercial officer who kind of oversees everything, marketing, sales, BD, and all of it. And I think the team, I don't know the exact size, but I would say it's in somewhere in the 20s, which is a good number for us. The most important thing is a service DNA. We are a service company, and nobody ever comes and thanks service companies enough. Consider airlines. Every time you fly, it's rare that people get out and say, "This is amazing, I loved it today." No, we always complain about it wasn't clean, it was late, this, that, and the other. But the primary job of an airline is to transport you safely from A to B, and they do it very well every day. We never count that. So we are a service company. There'll always be customers who will have issues. So what? That's an improvement opportunity for us. But the part that I like the most, and we have kind of pushed that into our DNA, is getting in front of a client every day. I, as a minimum, meet at least two customers a week, and some weeks it could be as high as 15.
Wow.
And our team is always on the road getting out in front of customers. I do believe human interaction, we are humans at the end of the day, has value. In person is always much better than remote, and listening to our clients. So that's been our big thesis. It's not magical, it's not like lots of spreadsheets and AI tools. Those are all enablers to a thought process, which for us is very important. At this show, this has been an amazing show. Every day has been a number of leaders. Now many have become friends. We meet as families too. And I'm only 18 months in this industry. I think the ego level in this industry is very low, which is amazing. Great people. Just get in front of them, talk to them, listen to them, hear what we need to do to help them. And in return, we do not expect to be thanked every day. That's not what services do. We just do a great job safely. People go home safe, and we produce more energy, and we can then celebrate.
Such a great point on the service DNA. You're busy. Being a CEO is incredibly demanding. What do you do to help recharge your battery? Like, what is your downtime, or what do you do to reset?
It's interesting. The thing that resets me the most is solving more problems. I get very excited if there is a new problem to solve. I think my mind gets very bored if I'm sitting doing nothing. So I do start my day quite early. I do wake up at about 4 o'clock every day, and I do like to go to the gym. And that helps me set my day right. And then after that, it's all about meeting people. And the one thing which excites me more than not excites me is if I can meet more people, talk to more folks, and find more issues to solve. Um, I'm not a big one on. I don't golf a lot. Well, I don't. I do play some sports here and there. And then the last part that really has always helped me is time with the family. I think the families can never be thanked enough for the way they support us, my wife, my kids. That's very important.
Yeah, excellent. Very good. Before we end the podcast, do you have any final words for our listeners and viewers?
I'm going to say that the industry is in an amazing spot, and policy frameworks will come and go. That's part of what we do as countries and communities. We should not lose focus on the value of this industry, how we add to the energy equation. It is fundamental to our progress as a country, as humanity. And let's just go onwards and upwards, improve this place, because I think there's a lot of potential upside for the industry, for energy generation, and be more creative every day.
Thanks for joining us for another episode of Scaling Clean, the podcast for clean economy CEOs, investors, and the people who advise them. I'm your host, Melissa Baldwin. Our producer is Claire Quirin. If you like what you hear on Scaling Clean episodes, we'd appreciate it if you'd give us a 5-star rating and leave a comment where you get your podcast. And until next time, we wish you all the best in the clean economy transition.